Hi, good morning. Welcome to the last day of IATUL 2020 and welcome again to Porto. It's nice to have you with us today. For this session, we are going to have three very interesting presentations. I'm expecting them to be very interesting. They are about networking and connecting, bridging, like the theme we propose for the conference, bridging to the faculty and bridging to the community. We are going to start with Wei Xie. Wei Xie is research librarian, computing and information systems at Singapore Management University Libraries. 12 years ago, she moved from New Zealand to Singapore and started a new career at Singapore Management University Libraries. She played a key role in developing and delivering customized library services and programs for School of Computer and Information Systems. And she was newly appointed as coordinator for postgraduate services and is exploring better ways to serve this community, bridging to the faculty. Wei, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, afternoon greetings from Singapore. So just bear with me, I'm going to start my slides. So I'm Wei, and today I'm presenting to you how Singapore Management University Libraries connect with our communities through collaboration and engagement. So firstly, introduce Singapore Management University and Singapore Management University Libraries to you. Singapore Management University is a premier university in Asia and internationally recognized for its world-class research and distinguished teaching. We are a city university with a global focus. Was established in 2000. We are home to around 10,000 undergraduates and postgraduates. We have 6 schools. Singapore Management University Libraries, SMU Libraries, are the center for academic and professional knowledge resources and services that support the research and learning needs of the SMU community. So on the screen, you can see we have 2 physical libraries. On your left is a Li Ka-shing Library. On your right is our beautiful Kwok Chu Law Library. We are situated at the heart of the university city campus. Most of our resources are electronic resources. Our institutional repository, Institutional Knowledge, Inc., has achieved over 5 million downloads since 2010. And before the pandemic, in 2019, we have over 1.3 million visits, and we have 2 Learning Commons 24/7 access, 1 in each library. We have 38 staff. Out of that, 22 are professional librarians. This is our learning and engagement unit. We are a group of research librarians. Research librarians at SMU Libraries are reinventing ourselves by working closely with faculty, students, and the external community to make a significant impact on the quality of research, teaching, and learning. We are also exploring and integrating the digital tools and technologies into the research and teaching support to transform the collaboration and engagement. So I'm going to showcase our recent efforts to bridge knowledge university and the society. Research librarians are assigned to schools and disciplinary areas as a point of contact to provide the faculty with research and teaching support, to grow the research partnership as well. We focus more on what matters to faculty most in their research and teaching life cycle. It helps to bring the library to the faculty's attention. This will be elaborated upon in the next part. So usually before the start of the term, we help the faculty to prepare for their course readings. 2 months before the term starts, an email is sent out to the faculty, call for preparations for the course readings. Recently, we introduced a course reading list management system, Leganto, to help the faculty with the preparation for their course reading materials and publish the reading list in the learning management system. It also creates opportunities for us to initiate conversations with the faculty. To encourage the faculty to adopt this new workflow and using Leganto, research librarians reached out to the faculty, offered one-to-one demonstrations, and created a set of self-learning videos to help the faculty. What you see on the screen is a research guide created by my colleagues that embedded a few video clips to walk the faculty through step-by-step how to create their reading list. Each video is a short clip, only 10 to 15 seconds. It's really easy to follow. Some faculties still do not feel very comfortable in creating the reading list in Leganto on their own. Instead, they insist on passing their reading list to the library. We still offer those traditional services to the faculty on a case-by-case basis. At the same time, efficiency and convenience of Leganto and the new workflow were highlighted to the faculty through the conversations and office visits. We also provide the faculty with some evidence-based usage reports from Leganto to highlight to the faculty how their course readings are used by the students. This actually creates another opportunity for us to follow up with the faculty. During the academic terms, research librarians build teaching partnership with the faculty to develop and teach the information literacy programs. So here is an example of a course integrated workshop which I collaborated with the faculty to design and embedded it as a module in the course IS 110 Information Systems and Innovation. This course is a compulsory course for all the first-year students in the school. It's a perfect opportunity for me to introduce the freshmen to the information literacy skills. Since the start of the last year, most of the classes actually moved to online. I had a joint presence with the faculty in the virtual workshops. Faculty rendered their help to me to manage the live quiz and the chat in the workshops, involving the faculty in the entire process and allowing them to see the value of the information literacy classes, help for further similar requests for course-integrated classes. Research librarians also actively support and help the faculty to achieve the goal of research excellence. Research librarians promote the best practice to faculty to increase the discoverability and impact of their research by using the institutional repository. Our institutional repository, Inc., have achieved over 5 million downloads since 2010. SMU libraries work closely with the publishers to organize industry talks to bring the faculty and the industry professionals together, share their insights, and ignite the discussions by leveraging faculty's expertise in their subject areas. I identified those suitable faculties and introduced them to the publishers and industry partners to form some discussion panels. Those events promote the faculty's expertise and the reputations and help the faculty to network with a wide community. The event on the right was an inaugural breakfast event with the Wall Street Journal in 2019 on the hot topic, trade war between China and the US. It was the very first similar event in Asian Pacific region. The event on your left on the screen is a collaboration with the Office of Alumni Relations and the Wall Street Journal again to organize a WSJ SMU Conversations in 2020. We bring the experienced journalists worldwide, faculty, staff, students, and alumni together to discuss and share the views on a hot topic, the future of Asia under Joe Biden presidency after the USA election. It was such a wonderful and exciting networking sharing session. We reached out to over 500 attendees online from SMU community, alumni, and our industry partners. With such a visibility, word goes around and the faculty now approach the library to help initiate such events. I also play a role in the faculty appraisal evaluation at the end of the term. I help the faculty to analyze their publications and citation information using Google Scholar and Scopus. The school recognized the value and importance of my contribution and included this practice as a part of the official workflow in the evaluation process. So here what you see on the screen is the school assessment documentation. Where the arrow point is a part that the school that recommended their faculty to work with the research librarian together on the publication section in the evaluation documentation. Since the start of COVID-19 pandemic, the usual corridor talks and the office visits did not exist anymore. To maintain the strength and strengthen the relationship with the faculty, coffee break with your research librarian sessions were organized by the research librarians online. It was to remind the faculty that the in-time support and assistance from SMU libraries are not distant from them. So that's how we collaborated and engaged with the faculty. So how can we help students in the time when the reference inquiries are declined? So I have mentioned course-integrated classes in the previous part. So here is another example of a credit-bearing information literacy program for Doctor of Engineering. I was involved from the very initial stage when the school started planning for a new Doctor of Engineering program. I worked with the program directors to design these 2-year credit-bearing information literacy courses for this program. We cover the topics from mapping your literature review, current awareness, manage research data, academic publishing, predatory conference to research impact profiles. This topic was decided based on the skills required in students' coursework, research, and dissertation writing. In each year, students can receive 1 credit unit after attending and passing the assessment. So apart from the information and the literacy programs, we also work with the students on some projects beyond the traditional services. So some courses and programs in SMU require the students to work with the real clients to resolve the real-life business problems. The faculty who teach these classes recommend the students to work with the library together on these projects. So SMU Library participate in those projects as a client to present problems in operational and business processes. We provide some selected anonymized data sets to students, for example, the easy proxy data, the database usage, loan statistics, and the library visitorship, etc. And the students use the data set, analyze the problem, identify the underlying issues, and provide the recommendations to the library on how to better use the library resources, optimize and improve the efficiency of the business processes. The students also report back to the library on their findings in the project. Some recommendations actually spiked the library's interest in further investigating and follow-up. So in the past few years, for example, students designed and recommended a staff scheduling model for SMU libraries and recommended a cost reserves optimal lending duration, and also analyzes the library occupancies and the opening hours. So here is have some more interesting examples of students' project in collaboration with the libraries. We also work closely with other departments and offices in the university, establish close connections to a wide communities outside the university. So in this final part, I will highlight our roles through partnerships with a few examples. So the first example is this Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. This is a department within the university. I reached out to them to explore further opportunities to better serve this community. We had numerous conversations with this institute, try to understand their business offerings, their activities, and the resources and skills required from their students under their various programs. So after collecting all these requirements, I worked with a few research librarians together to design a suite of the services for them. So this is an example that a few research librarians worked closely together to offer this workshop, Research Skills for Entrepreneurs to Be. And we covered the topics on economic environment scanning, industry and market research, and funding research to empower students with rich resources and skills at the start of their entrepreneurship journey. So here is another example that we collaborate with IRE to create research guides covering innovation, entrepreneurship landscape, economic ecosystem, government and politics for multiple countries. Those guides help students to fulfill their overseas exposure requirements. In SMU, each student has to fulfill a certain level of the overseas exposure in the format of overseas internship, overseas exchange program, or overseas charity work. However, in the pandemic, all these activities were disrupted. So students now can self-study the curated resources from research guides and complete some quizzes built based on these guides to fulfill a part of their overseas exposure requirements.
Sorry, wait, one more minute.
Okay, cool. So this is just another few examples of how we engage through with the communities through some events and some workshops, and research librarians in the community also try to create those topic book display. But in the pandemic time, we kind of transform the book display into those digital format to cover more digital resources. For example, the videos, podcasts, online articles, try to connect with our community. So my last slide, we are facing challenges brought by the digital transformation. It's important to reinvent and justify our roles and values and transform the services and academic libraries offer. The most effective and efficient way is to engage and partner with the community to create a win-win situation. The process of building partnership could be longer than we expected. However, it's rewarding and satisfying. It's worth the effort and time invested. We are constantly exploring the new ways to engage and collaborate with the communities in this challenging time. And I do highlight something in my paper. Those trials and tribulations will inspire others to embark on the exciting new service offering. And the very last, we are loved and remembered by our communities. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Chase, for stressing you, but we really need to move. Great presentation. Thank you. The delegates can submit questions to all presenters on the Q&A option on your right tab. Presenters will follow the questions and will be answering as possible. And at the end, if we have time, we'll get back to those questions. Now we have a presentation from the Special Interest Group for Metrics and Research Impact from Trish Wilson and Shiobhan. Shiobhan is with us. We have a saved video. Hi, Shiobhan. We have a saved video that Bruno will share, and hope everything is going to work fine. Please, Bruno.
Tēnā koutou, my name is Shiobhan Smith and I am presenting on behalf of the Special Interest Group for Metrics and Research Impact. This presentation has been co-designed by myself and the chairperson for the Special Interest Group, Trish Wilson. The IATUL Research Impact Things is the topic of this presentation, and we will talk a little bit about the development of it and also how it has been used to date. It is live, so please note the URL so you can visit it later. So this story really begins in 2017 and the publication of the Cox-Inall Bibliometric Capabilities Framework. This is a really useful resource for anybody working in bibliometrics to get a sense of the kind of capabilities they need in order to do the work at entry level, core and advanced. The SIG MaRI members had been talking for a while about how we could support the upskilling of our members in these areas based on this framework. And then an aha moment occurred when many of us heard Jacinda Byrne from the University of New South Wales talk about the 10 research impact things that they had developed and launched in 2019, which had used that bibliometric capability framework to inform what they were doing. So we approached Jacinta and talked about whether we could actually reuse some of their content to provide the foundation for an IATUL version of the research impact things, obviously adapted and revised for the broader community. And we want to acknowledge the generosity of Jacinta and the University of New South Wales for allowing us to do that and give our research impact things such a strong foundation. So the project team was formed in 2020 after the idea of creating an IATUL version of the research impact things was endorsed by the board in 2019. And right from the start, it was a collaborative cross-institutional initiative. And that was really part of its strength. It brought people together from not simply different universities, but they actually had different experiences of working in bibliometrics. Some of these people worked with bibliometrics in that big sense of creating large benchmarking reports, for instance, for their universities, whereas others were used to sitting down with an individual researcher and working with them to run their bibliometrics in terms of things like, for instance, grant funding or promotion. So that whole spectrum of the way bibliometrics are used was covered. And Janice Chang took the role of project manager and really was the glue that kept the project together and kept it moving forward and ensured that the product was of such an excellent standard. So kia ora to Janice. So this is the program that we developed in a nutshell. There are 11 things in total, and flexibility has been really important in its design. So each thing within it has 3 parts. The first part is the getting started part. This is where beginners can find out about the topic. Then there's another part which is called Learn More, which takes you or scaffolds you to another level of knowledge. And then there's the Challenge Me section. This often assumes that you are familiar with the basics and will give you more in-depth and nuanced information about that particular thing's topic. Obviously, when you go into a thing, if you already know the basics, you can quite quickly and easily skip to Challenge Me. You can also complete the things in different orders. You can go from 1 to 2 to 3, but you can also go from 1 to 4 to 7 if you prefer. And there's a lot of information presented in videos and in images and links to other resources as well as text. We wanted to give lots of people different ways to interact with these concepts and different ways that they can interact with the information. So while the research impact things is a standalone resource in the sense that an individual librarian can come, they can engage with the content, they can do the activities and upskill as an individual. What we also want to encourage is the idea that this can be the foundation for creating a training experience within a library that allows people to learn together, a community of practice, if you like. So within the Things website, there is information on how to integrate the program into your local training. And people who have already done this have provided lots of different kind of things to think about, ways to do things, and so forth that you can read about. However, they have also very generously provided their contact details. So if you want to actually go and talk to somebody about the things and say, hey, how did you use that? What do you recommend me doing? Then they are there and available. And as you become yourself an experienced user of the things, you can ask to have your name added to that list. So we're trying to grow the community as well and truly make this even more collaborative in the long term. So now I'd like to talk about an actual case study of using the bibliometric things as a foundation for a localised training program. And that's the experience of the University of Otago and my team, the Research Support Unit. So just for a bit of background, bibliometrics has been done at our university library for quite a long while via mostly subject librarians who tend to do it at that kind of individual level. And then more recently by the Library Research Support Unit, who tends to do it at that kind of bigger unit level. So, for instance, an individual academic who would like to know what their H-index is would go to their subject librarian. A head of department who wants to benchmark their department against another would come and see the Library Research Support Unit. The Library Research Support Unit is also responsible for the educating of subject librarians in various systems and skills that support research activities. So coincidentally, around the same time that the University of New South Wales had launched their 10 research impact things and the SIG MaRI group was seriously talking about adapting it for the wider community, my team had been working on a program based on the Bibliometric Capabilities Framework by Cox and All. This program was not just for research support units and subject librarian staff, but we had permission from our executive management group to create some of the training material for all staff, so that we knew that no matter at what point of contact a researcher had within the library, if they came to talk about metrics, the person that they encountered would have those basic entry-level knowledges to begin the conversation. So initially, the University of Otago library program was being developed in isolation. We were just doing it by ourselves. But both myself and Kate Bardwell, my manager, are on the SIG MaRI group. And it didn't take us long to realise that what was being proposed would actually make a great foundational resource for what we were doing, that we didn't actually have to reinvent the wheel, as they say. And at that point, we actually had Research Support Unit members Fiona Glasgow and Antje Lubka joined the development team. The Otago training program that was eventually developed and delivered took the 11 research impact things and incorporated them into 7 workshops. The learning model we used was a flipped one. So rather than looking at the research impact things in the workshop, the idea was people interacted with them prior to or after the workshop. And the workshop itself provided some kind of enrichment around the thing. The enrichment might be adding local content, or it could be practicing with tools using local researchers or research topics. But the most important thing is it gave them something additional to what they got out of the research impact thing. The flexibility of the way the things were set up really came into play, because we had some workshops which were only looking at the entry-level competencies, others that were looking at the core, and different people were attending different workshops. But it didn't matter, because the things could be done in any kind of order. You could skip a thing and still make sense of the next one afterwards. So it actually worked out really well for us. This is an example of one of the workshops, just to highlight some of these points further. This one was based around publishing strategies, which linked directly to Thing 6. And in this workshop, everybody attended because it was looking at both entry-level and core competencies. So the way we provided enrichment in Workshop 6 was to invite academics to actually come and talk about their publishing strategies and give the librarians opportunities to ask curly questions. We gave them an indication beforehand that we wanted them to focus on metrics and open access, and because there was that open access element, we also invited the OA and copyright manager to attend. And it was highly successful, partly because these academics were incredibly generous, and we actually got from one end of the spectrum, an academic who metrics were not important at all, right through to the other end of the spectrum where metrics were very important, if not one of the most important things that they took into account when determining where to publish. So it was eye-opening, it was real life, it was local context, and it just really added to the information that that particular Thing 6 was trying to convey. So the evaluation afterwards showed us that most people had a really positive experience. There were some inconsistencies in the feedback. That's not going to be surprising for anybody here, I'm sure. But what came through quite strongly was people liked the combination of face-to-face with the research impact things. They liked the idea of being able to go away and learn in their own time and at their own pace, but then also coming together as a community of learners and to have that kind of enrichment experience that we offered. We are now encouraging people to dip back into research impact things periodically so that they can refresh themselves. However, we won't run the program again this year. We were going to wait perhaps a year or two and then we'll run it again. But wait, there is more. I was actually invited to be part of the 23 Things International for 2021. Working with a colleague at the University of Surrey, I was to develop Thing 17 on bibliometrics and impact. Now, the 23 Things International is for doctoral and early career researchers, so it's a different audience and requires a slightly different kind of focus. But The beauty of the IATUL research things is they're all put out there under a Creative Commons license. So I was able to take the ideas and some of the wording, I was able to use some of the examples and recraft them into something that was appropriate for this new audience and context. What I also felt good about was knowing that the IATUL research things was kind of already peer reviewed. So it wasn't me just thinking up things in isolation. I had this entire team of people who had created this wonderful resource that I could then use. And myself at the University of Otago are not the only ones using it. We have data from Google Analytics to show a healthy interest in the 11 research things. There's been high engagement with over 5,000 sessions and nearly 3,000 users since it launched in 2021. You'll see that the peak use was directly after the launch, and while the engagement has flattened somewhat, it is still reasonably good. And while not definitive, it seems that promotion and marketing of the tool is associated with greater use of it. So please, we're asking you to get the word out there for us. And this table shows the users of the 11 Research Impact Things tool by country. One of the things we're really pleased to see is the diversity in the countries represented. And we again want to stress that this resource has a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license. So you can take it, as Otago did, you can adapt it, you can tailor it to individual needs. You can translate it into different languages, as some of the feedback we have received has suggested. So the tool has been developed, it has been launched, and we absolutely know it is being used. But this is just the beginning of the journey, and we are taking an agile approach to ongoing management and development. We really want to seek feedback from those who are engaging with the tool, and that will help us determine how to enhance it. And we're also going to do a lot more promotion in the coming months, so keep an eye out for that. And we're always looking for people, new people, to come in and have a look and to help us further develop the tool, bringing new ideas and fresh perspectives. So if you are interested in joining SIG MaRI, please contact Trish Wilson at trish.wilson@vuw.ac.nz. So as I say in New Zealand, kia ora, thank you for listening, and please don't hesitate to get in touch. Matawai.
Thank you, Shiobhan. I'm delighted. This is a great example of the great work special working groups are doing, and thank you for sharing that. I just want to remember that you can submit your questions on the Q&A on the right. Shiobhan and Wei will picking those questions and answering. At the end of the session, we'll try to get back to those questions if we have time. And now we have another presentation about bridging to the faculty and bridging to research and research support from libraries. We have Anleto with us. Anleto works as library director at Tritonia Academic Library in Vaasa, Finland. And welcome and thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for inviting us to this wonderful event. I'm going to tell you how Finnish University Libraries Network advances open science and access to research-based information. And on this slide, you see also the names of my co-authors. I noticed that at least Minna and Tommi are with us today in this session. Finland is a small country with a population of 5.5 million. Finland is famous for its free education that includes also 14 universities.
Sorry,
Can you see my...
Sorry, just 1 moment. You are not sharing Okay, just use PowerPoint like this. Don't start the presentation. Use it like this, okay?
Okay. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
These 14 universities have all university libraries or similar institutions, and these are represented in our network that was established in 1996. FUN is a collaborative forum for Finnish university library directors. And if we think about this number of being 14, it's quite a small group still when we compare us to other library sectors like public libraries, which are in Finland several hundreds. FUN's mission is to encourage libraries to experiment with new modes of operation, to demonstrate impact, and to increase the visibility of library operations. FUN also works to predict changes in the operational environment from a strategic management perspective. To describe the current information landscape, we can say that need for research-based information is greater than ever. The use of misinformation has grown rapidly, and it has been used to diminish democracy and open society. With the advent of COVID-19 pandemic, the access to information, to research-based information, has become critical. Open science is a megatrend, but we have seen that not all information sources are open yet. In Finland, Open Science and Research Initiative was launched in 2014 by the Ministry of Education and Culture. And our approach involves the whole scientific community, higher education institutions, research institutes, funders, libraries, and archives. Today, we want to bring university libraries' perspective to open science issues, because as we know, university libraries have a comprehensive approach to advancing open science. We need to consider the whole picture: budget, user needs, services like IRs, university presses, research assessment issues, bibliometrics, space, staff, competence development, collections. We need to consider both these inside-out issues, meaning scholarly communication, and outside-in, licensing of big databases and journal packages. One of the issues I want to point out here is that also was mentioned here in the Singapore's Wales presentation: information literacy training. Open science makes it even more important today, because open science means that information is all over in different portals. It's no longer in some databases behind the paywall being accessed with a user account in a kind of safe sandbox for us to trust. So information literacy is a role that university libraries still need to keep developing on. To reach our goals, FUN has developed a very clear strategy that builds on 3 pillars: impact, visibility, and experiment. And in the next slides, I'll describe what we have done in practice to advance open science and access to information on the basis of these pillars. First, impact. Impact is probably the most important of our pillars in this strategy. Impact on advancing open science in practice means, and this is no news for this audience, that university libraries have been among the most active pioneers in advancing open science and open access to scientific information. Like in FUN's meetings, we have been discussed open science issues in every meeting in the past few years. In Finland, the Ministry of Education and Culture assigned in 2018 the task to advance and coordinate the academic community's progress towards open science to the Federation of Finnish Learned Societies. And our network is involved in this work. This is a kind of umbrella organization consisting of bottom-up groups that are based on interest, and also a higher level national open science and research steering group. And my colleague Minna Abrahamsson-Sipponen, who is attending this session, is our member in this higher level group that was formed by invitation. This group, this steering group, has been active in building strategies for Finland to open our science. They have created and published several policies for scholarly publications, open research data and net methods, and a policy for open education and educational resources. All Finnish academic institutions, the whole academic community, has signed Declaration for Open Science and Research 2020 to 2025. So this work has proved to be a good way to proceed, and our network is actively involved. What do university libraries do in practice to advance open science? One example is self-archiving, green open access. In this figure, you can see the share of open publications by types, gold, hybrid, and green, out of all scientific publications by Finnish universities in 5 years' time. And the total number of open publications has increased from 36% to 72%. And here you can see that green open access has increased a lot during this period, but also hybrid publishing. And that's because, we are aware of this Plan S that aligned transformative agreements with big publishers. Both gold and hybrid have increased in the last years. But we, as in FUN, we still see that green open access is needed to foster the change to completely open access. And personally, I think that it's good that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So we need different models, and as we all know, these transformative agreements are quite expensive, and the situation is very difficult if the prices are getting higher and higher, and no new money is coming in to the system. so to say. Concerning the obstacles to open science, even if it's a significant movement, there are still some challenges. In Finland, restrictions on data mining and absence of a self-archiving exception in the national legislation have been reported among the major obstacles to fully open access, open science. And we in FUN, we see that in the ongoing reform of the Copyright Act, both obstacles can be removed. There are international examples in Europe, for instance in France, concerning this self-archiving exception. This process is still ongoing. We have, together with the Finnish Research Library Association, sent a statement to the ministry, and we are eager to see the results in the coming autumn. Last year, we all faced a new situation. So, one of the recent examples of how we have tried to influence access issues is this case when universities were forced to go to wide distance education and campuses were closed. We felt as university libraries that we need to do something. We saw international publishers showing understanding by expanding their licenses, and we thought that it was time for Finnish publishers to take action. We heard students' urgent needs, that they needed to proceed with their studies, get their exams done, finalize their thesis, and researchers also needed information. Suddenly we were in this new situation. We together with university rectors in Finland and the National Union of University Students, decided to appeal, to make a statement, a petition, to appeal to Finnish scholarly publishers and vendors to try to make them understand the difficult situation. For instance, there are e-books. Not all course materials were available, accessible during this period, because some e-book vendors, they don't provide licensing for schools. They only provide individual licensing. The price may also be the problem, and some of the materials we had licensed were only for use on campus, and the campus was closed. We were still paying for these resources and didn't have any access at all. So the situation was really, really difficult. This appeal provoked a vivid discussion. Some publishers even temporarily opened access to their digital course materials. So we got some results, and we got some response also from these scholarly publishers that they were also in a difficult situation and so forth. So it was a good start to start discussing different points of view in this situation, and also considering open science. Another example is how we tried to influence the decision on our national repository library, because the ministry had plans that they would have moved it from its current location to another town, and that would have meant that they would not take along all the collections donated mostly by university libraries, and the ownership of the collections would have gone to one and single university. So we thought that was not possible development, because when this National Repository Library was founded, universities were at that time functioning directly under the Ministry of Education and Culture, and it was built especially for the needs of the university libraries, because the need for space was increasing year by year at that time. But we know that during these times, these 30 years time, it has continued. And currently in this COVID situation, the discussion about space on campus and the use of space, and do we need so much space, and do we need space for books? Because books, print books, are not so accessible in this kind of pandemic situation. So these discussions are continuing, and in Finland, in several universities, they are ongoing right now. The next part, yeah,
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes, I know, yeah. Visibility is the next one. Visibility is not the goal for itself. It's a way to achieve impact. And if you are not seen, you cannot influence. We are now celebrating our 25th anniversary year, and we are organizing 3 webinars. 2 of them have already taken place, and these 3 webinars are based on these pillars of our strategy. But one thing I really want to share with you is this next one, is experiment, and what an example of a wonderful experiment that has been done at Åbo Academy University, because the setting of this experiment is very clever and smart. So at Åbo Academy University, small collaborative steps are thought to have lasting effects on the openness of the science if both the research context and subject-specific matters are considered. So, and laboratory notebooks are crucial for the reproducibility and validation of the research process. So that makes them a very good starting point towards openness in the scientific workflow. This was a very small experiment with 12 researchers. They used in this experiment generic tools that they were already familiar with. We know that there are specific software for this kind of usage, but they used OneNote with Teams. And results showed that the participants found new opportunities for collaboration and work practices. They could use mobile phone for taking pictures and recordings. They could use diagrams in their publishing, so the preparatory work and publishing became closer each other, and they saved time. And this was a mutual learning process. And you can read more in our paper. And then during this pandemic, the weekly discussions have been very fruitful and welcome to all our members. Here is a picture of us before COVID pandemic. We used to meet 4 times a year and benchmark other services and space. During the COVID, we have been able to meet virtually in Teams or Zoom. To conclude, we look forward to the next 25 years with an open mind, and we will continue to work as a network to uphold reliable research-based information. And we follow the development and influence the development of open science. And I would conclude by saying that the share or perish applies to us as well as to the researchers. Sharing is the key. Thank you, and thank you to my co-authors.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for have been able to conclude so fast. Too bad we don't have time to continue talking. There were few questions I would want to pose, but we have to move to next session. Yeah. You can find the different presenters on the lobby. You can interact with them. I'm sure that they will be able to answer and to help you clarifying the presentations. Join me by thanking using the like buttons. I already see so many likes. See you on next session, which is just about to start. Bye. See you. Thank you. Thank you for all of you.